Steeler Nation, you see it on the shirt. He's decked out in the Yins gear. That's Mic'd Up Sports One. I'm Jay York Football. We are geared up, ready to go for another great episode of the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Michael, how are you doing? I know, it's flooding in Florida, so hopefully everything's safe over there.
I'm good. This is wintertime in Florida, basically. It's rainy season, hurricane season, and the Steelers bars down here are waiting a couple more months for football season to kick in so they can start flooding with people. If I'll do a little dumb play on words to start the show. But no, all is good, man. We got mini camp, got big contract extension news. Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, is feeling like a 22-year-old again. So we're feeling unlimited today, aren't we?
I'm here for it. Hey, I think that Russ is going to have a big year. Like, hey, Justin Fields is there if we need him, but I think that Russ can maybe take us to the promised land. Jimmy, why don't you take us to the end zone? Let's get it started.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Steelers Crazy.
Harris Smith shields. Flacco, Polamalu takes it home. Super Bowl 43. Pittsburgh might be bound for that thanks to number 43.
The sickest Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
Let's welcome in our guy, David Todd. You find him, of course, on Twitter at David M. Todd. A lot of Steelers talk, a lot of Buccos talk as well. All good things. If you follow Pittsburgh sports, you know who this guy is. David, how are you?
Hey, guys, good to be with you. Sorry for being a little late today.
No worries. This show airs later, but we are all of course, dealing with Bucco fever currently as I check my neck and see how hot I am. Let's talk a little bit of Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Jordan and I were talking, of course, prior to you jumping on, first and foremost, the Mike Tomlin contract extension. Your first thoughts, warranted?
My first thoughts was no surprise. I mean, regardless of what anybody's opinion is on the contract, I mean, this has to be the least surprising thing going. I mean, look, I came back to Pittsburgh in 2010 and was, involved in the media side of things in 2011. And I would just have this rolling conversation every year of Mike Tomlin will be the quarterback 5 years from now, and Ben Roethlisberger will be, Mike Tomlin will be the coach 5 years from now, and Ben Roethlisberger will be the quarterback 5 years from now. And, obviously the player has an expiration date, the coach doesn't. I think Tomlin will be the coach in 2030, honestly. And look, I would bring him back. I understand the concerns about not winning a playoff game over X number of years. I think Tomlin's a really good coach. He has his flaws, as most do. So, and, I've been on the record. I think his biggest weaknesses are game day related. And, I think there are things you can do to improve those things. I think we've seen a little bit of improvement recently. At the end of the day, if you don't win a couple of playoff games, you're not or kind of continually in the playoffs around Pittsburgh, then the seasons aren't viewed successfully. It's a very high bar. The bar in Pittsburgh, I think, is probably as high as it is anywhere around the NFL. So it's a tough crowd, but they expect to win. And Tomlin has generally delivered, but he hasn't delivered at the highest level.
Jordan, I know you want to talk about another contract extension, or should I say potential contract extension?
Yeah, so talk about the Cam Hayward extension. Obviously, he's 35 years old. I think that at this point, it's just blasphemy for him to ask for that much money. I love Cam Hayward. He's the heart and soul of this Pittsburgh Steelers, but you want to compose a Super Bowl winning team, and that contract is not going to help. Coming off an injury, I understand that obviously he's always going to bet on himself, but sometimes you just simply have to be realistic.
Look, I'm generally in that camp. I don't think there's any downside for the Steelers to extending Cam on non-guaranteed money. The way I looked at it is he's talking 3 years. I mean, look, he's under contract this year. The way I would view it if I'm the Steelers is somewhere between $8 and $10 million next year and $5 million the following year if you want to guarantee dollars. But I mean, I don't know how you can look. He's already. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was the oldest defensive lineman in the league this year,
Yeah.
and he's had a little bit. Look, guys get injured. It's the nature of the game. But obviously, you're more susceptible as you get older. And he's a force. He is a very good football player. But you can't be talking about numbers. I don't think you can be talking about 8-figure numbers with Cam going forward. So. You don't get paid on what you did in the past. The expectations going forward, $7.5 million a year, sure, and see how things go and non-guaranteed money.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where they come down.
I have to agree there, Mike.
David, is there a Pittsburgh Steeler that you think is ready to take the next step this season? Obviously, we've heard a lot about George Pickens, but is there somebody maybe a little under the radar that you think can really break through?
Well, I think a lot of people expect things from Pat Fryermuth. I think that's an open question. I am surprised that it's a given that they're at least if you follow the beat writers, particularly Marco Boli, he feels like that's going to be a done deal, and he's a guy in this offense that's a guy that's really going to step forward. I'll tell you, I don't know if we can have expectations for the young corners that the Steelers have, other than Joey Porter Jr. But I'm very interested to see how Trice and some of these other guys do here in camp and whether they compete. I mean, look, let's take the subject of how you feel about the ethical side of Cam Sutton. I assume the Rooneys did their homework. I assume they understand the police reports and had their conversations. As Mike Tomlin said, it's a player we've known. We have some level of comfort that obviously, at least 30 other teams aren't going to necessarily have. So from a football perspective, I love the signing. It gives them some depth at the position, particularly inside. So better things from him. But, as you guys know, it's the young guys who look to break out. Benton, some of these young corners maybe take a step forward. That to me, that's where I would go initially. The other question is obviously, not to jump to a different topic, but what happens in that wide receiver room and where we go from
Yeah.
there.
I have to agree.
Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, so what are your overall expectations? What would you consider a successful Steelers season? Obviously, it's Pittsburgh. We win a Super Bowl every year, but realistically speaking, what would be a success for the Steelers this year?
Look, making the playoffs is always a good season in my book. It's that's straightforward. You make the playoffs, you had a solid season. Does that mean you achieved what you want to achieve or you reached their goals? Of course not. And that's one of the things when you have these conversations around town is it's everybody knows what expectations are and what the goals are, but the question about what are realistic expectations is a different type of thing. So I think you got to go in, particularly in this division. If you win 10 games and make the playoffs, I think that's a successful season, and you go from there. Clearly, the first, second, and third most important thing is how the quarterback room shakes out. I love what they did. As we've talked, I loved the acquisition of both these guys. And I think my expectations for Russell Wilson are probably higher than most.
I'm glad that you said that because before you came on here, I said the same thing. And Rush just came out, he's 35, feeling like he's 25. I just think that he has a lot to prove. I always thought, obviously, Russell Wilson was a great quarterback, had success in Seattle. I don't really put too much into what happened. It seemed like Sean Payton just from the jump just didn't want him to succeed. I don't know what was going on there, so I don't put too much into that, but just really excited. I mean, just watching. I mean, I wanted nothing more than I made a vouch not to talk about Kenny Pickett, but I wanted nothing more than Kenny Pickett to be the guy. But it didn't take long to show that he wasn't. 13 touchdowns in 2 seasons. We were just talking Russ, 26 touchdowns. I mean, that's like we can cut that in half, and we'd be happy with that in Pittsburgh.
David, before we get you out of here. Jordan and I used to run a podcast called Yins Are Crazy. Kind of jumped into the Steelers crazy mode over here. Yins Are Crazy was Pittsburgh Pirates, Pittsburgh Penguins as well. Maybe a little Riverhounds thrown in there. We're talking off air. You're an optimistic Pirates fan. I myself am a knee-jerk Pirates fan. I have said the season is over 5 times this year, and then I've said we're winning the World Series probably 4 or 5 times this year. Why are you so laid back, calm, even keel when it comes to the 2024 Pirates?
Look, again, it's. I think you have to be realistic about the quality of the team, and everybody got a bonus seeing Jared Jones come up and be a
Yeah.
revelation for sure. I think it was a revelation for people in the organization. Mitch Keller over his last, basically since May 1st, has been fantastic, and he's been as good as any pitcher in the National League. And then what we've seen with Skeens, that's a national story. And the guy is so fun to watch. He's so dynamic. He's charismatic. And if you have starting pitching like that, then you're going to compete regardless almost of the rest of your roster. We've seen the back end of the bullpen. Now, Holderman's been great all season. I'm going to die on the hill that Chapman's a good signing.
Coming
But,
back.
everybody wants to say, oh, they should have done this, that, and the other thing and signed Cody Bellinger and whatever else, or Corey Bellinger, whatever else you could have done. Look, you had $10 million. You're not going to get a frontline starting pitcher. You're not going to get a frontline position player. Would you have liked to have had better performance out of Rowdy Talese? Of course you would. But I think with Chapman in that bullpen with that rotation, if Bednar continues to pitch well with Holderman, you've got three guys who hopefully can give you six, and then you've got guys who can close it out in the back end. Of course, the big question, with this is what about the offense? And the offense has been poor. There's not a lot to say. They have tried everybody they have in the organization. You've called up G1 Bay. Nick Gonzalez has been great. I mean, that's been the best thing that's happened to the Pirates offensively the whole season. But Hayes has been a disaster. I tweeted a little bit today about how his first half has been, up to 200 plate appearances this year has been almost identical to last year because the pitching is so good. At the end of the day, in a league environment with less runs being scored, the Pirates are going to be competitive. I think they'll get in the playoffs. You put me in the playoffs with those three guys at the front of the rotation, at least you feel like you got a real shot. I mean, for Pirate
Love
fans
it.
who lived through 2013 through 15, and that you had to face Baumgartner, you had to face Jake Arrieta, being able to say that you can throw out, Skeens, Jones and Keller, feels like you got hope.
Hope is, a great word around here. Hope springs eternal. Baseball, football, we got you doing everything. It's a great David Todd. David, thank you so much.
Thank
Go
you,
Bucks.
David.
Hey, guys.
Appreciate
Great
it.
to be with you, and sorry again for being late. Take care.
No worries.
No
Thanks,
problem.
David. It's good to get a little Bucko talk in as well. You know what I mean? How many
Yeah.
people are watching a Steelers podcast that don't root for the Bucks? All right, probably a good amount because Steelers fans are worldwide, but it's always nice to mix a little bit in there for our viewers.
Let's just jump right into it. So the Tomlin contract extension, 3 years. I'll just give my quick take on it, and I'll throw it over to you. I think it's well deserved. We all know Mike Tomlin is a great coach, but I will say that this is the final straw. If he can't make a deep playoff run, or I'm telling you, in 3 years you got to win a Super Bowl. And from there, it would be time to move on for me. But I think if anyone can do it, I would never, go against Mike Tomlin. He's a great coach, but got to get some playoff wins and got to get it done within those 3 years.
I completely agree. And I think two things can be true. I think he can be a really good coach. He's going to make the Hall of Fame, whether Yinzers like to hear that or not. They call him mediocre Mike. Steelers have been mediocre over the last handful of years, but he does have a Super Bowl. He has one of the highest winning percentages in NFL history, to be quite frank. So there's no denying those facts. But you're right. I mean, it something has to still change. And by change, it means playoff wins. And I don't think playoff wins once more are the standard. It's got to be a Super Bowl win. You might
I
not
agree.
think this team is built for it, but they have a Hall of Fame quarterback as well. They have the highest paid defense in the league, really good rushing attack. George Pickens coming on as a number one receiver. So, for me, they don't get to the playoffs and win a game and we have a parade on East Carson Street. I want to see at the very least a deep run and a promising season from Russell Wilson. I think everybody is a little bit, jaded or blinded by this Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes era that we are living in. We've never really been, able to see a team without a superstar Hall of Fame quarterback win a Super Bowl in the last decade plus, it feels like. I mean, it's been Brady for 100 times and then 2 from Mahomes. Like, we're not in a league right now where different teams are winning the Super Bowl every year. You have a couple outliers like Nick Foles and, you throw a handful in there for like the past 20 years. But I think everybody once that, oh, if you're not winning the Super Bowl every single year, it's a failure. But I really do think that's unfair at the end of the day. Look at the Packers, look at the 49ers, look at some really good teams recently that have got there and have come up short because they keep falling to these legendary quarterbacks, arguably two of the best quarterbacks, the two best quarterbacks to ever play in the league.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that enough is enough. Like, I always allude to this and say this, but, when you walk into that Steelers facility, you see the 6 Lombardis there, and that speaks for itself. And that's the standard here. And we're just trying to get back to the standard. I know it's been a while, but that's what's expected from the Pittsburgh Steelers and the organization. And that doesn't change just because we haven't reached it. Again, I think I'll say this in every podcast that we talk about. We're not the Cleveland Browns. We're not the Carolina Panthers. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's what the standard is here in Pittsburgh. So yeah, got to get it done. We'll see. So I think that window is fair. I agree. I was just kind of being a little bit nice, but I think you got to get a Super Bowl here to, shut the naysayers up. Most definitely, because we know there's a lot of them. So with that being said, do you think that there is a quarterback competition battle, whatever you want to call it, in Pittsburgh? It's way too early. Let's wait until we get to Latrobe. I know that we're going to be here soon, but I just don't feed too much into these clickbait, articles that are coming out. I think that the preseason can really, determine where we're at with that. And I still think that Russ is in the pole position, just from, everything that I heard and seen what's going on. I think we all kind of know that. So if you just want to give your take, I think it's, this is Russ's job to lose.
I don't think there's a competition whatsoever, and I don't think even going into Latrobe in the preseason that there will be a quarterback competition. This is Russell Wilson's job, and he won't lose it until midway through the season if the Steelers are struggling at that point. There's a reason they brought him in. It's to be the leader of this team, to be the guy who, plays like he did last year. 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Yeah, it was a mess in Denver because of his relationship with Sean Payton. And, a lot of moving parts there. It just never really felt comfortable. But, he's talking about how he has this fresh start, rejuvenation, much better running game than he had in Denver, and a much better defense. That's for damn sure. So, yeah, you're going to see what you have with him. I think my big question is how much do we actually see him in the preseason? I mean, I'll throw that back to you. But my thoughts are, you rarely see aging quarterbacks play much in the preseason. And you want to keep him healthy, but at the same time, like, he needs to develop a rapport and some actual game snaps with guys like George Pickens, right, before the season.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. I didn't even really think about it like that, but now that you put it, I mean, it's completely true. He's a veteran, but it's a new team. You want to get that chemistry going before week 1. So I would say, you would think more than 2 series. I mean, I think closer, deeper into the preseason, he could go until halftime, but there's that risk of injury. But I mean, there's always a risk of injury, and we don't want to manifest anything. But like I said, he's 35, feeling like he's 25. I'm here for it. I believe in Russ. I'm gonna stand by it. Everyone's, oh, he's washed up, he's this and that. I feel like he has something to prove. He's getting all that money from the Broncos. He wants to show people that he could be the Russ of old when he was in Seattle, and I think that he can, because we all know that the Steelers have talent on offense, from the running backs to George Pickens. The offensive line, is getting there. I think we know the defense, especially with the addition of Patrick Queen. It's still pinch me. I still can't believe that that's true. Hopefully you guys won't get into any more Twitter battles as well.
That's my boy.
Yeah.
I don't even need the Russ of old, for what it's worth. I want the Russ of last year.
Well, the QB's been so, yeah.
I mean, we would take that over Kenny Pickett, what he did all day. It's not even close. Twice
in
on
2 seasons.
Sunday. And he threw more touchdowns than Lamar Jackson did last year, the MVP. He had a better, completion percentage. Obviously, he didn't have the rushing stats. He wasn't in the conversation ultimately because of how poorly Denver played. And there is obviously a large part of quarterback evaluation that's directly tied to winning, and it should be. But Kenny Pickett won more games than Russell Wilson. That shows you right there that it's a team sport. It's a team sport. If you switch Pickett on Denver last year, they probably go 0-17.
I would have to agree there. So let's stay on the offensive side of the ball. Everyone's kind of trying to figure out who the wide receiver number 2 is. I'm not really that worried about it. I know George Pickens is going to get double covered, and you want to have an option there. Van Jefferson, he's just a guy. We had a few guys on here, national media guys that said that he could be more than just a guy. Roman Wilson. Calvin Austin, I think we talked about it on previous podcasts. He's simply just a gadget at this point. I'm not really expecting anything out of him because I think he pretty much just showed what he's capable of. But with that being said, I think that gives the opportunity for Roman Wilson to come in and have an immediate impact, and I do truly believe that he can do that. He played at the highest level at Michigan, and those type of guys. It's the same thing with George Pickens. I'm not comparing them to, but they played at that level of collegiate football where they're playing against the best talent in the nation, and now it's just you're playing the best of the best in the NFL. So I think that's what these guys. Mike Tomlin always says it's the next man up. So I'm not really too worried about it. Like, yes, would I like a guy like Brandon Ayuk? Sure. If the price is right, or if we trade a couple draft picks, sure. But if we just went into what we have now, I'm not like too worried. And it just seems like Steeler Nation right now is just like freaking out, and I'm like, just take a chill pill, man. We have a lot, when we get up to Latrobe, that's when stuff really starts happening, and you can start dissecting stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, it's, to me, it's the old adage, when you have 4 wide receiver 2s, you have no wide receiver 2s, right? You just
Yeah.
named a handful of guys, Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, Roman Wilson. For me, I think that's a clear example that you need an upgrade. It's clearly Roman Wilson's job to lose. He's the most talented. He's not the, most experienced yet. Obviously, he's a rookie, but you don't want to go into the season saying to yourself, if George Pickens gets hurt, this team is in big trouble. You need another guy on the opposite side of that.
Yeah.
It feels like Ayuk rumors are starting to kind of pick up steam again, at least him being traded because, San Francisco offered him something. It sounds like he declined it. And he's clearly shown his frustration. And I just don't think San Francisco wants to trade him, but he might force their hand ultimately. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, they should be at the front of the line there. It also depends on, are they willing to pay him like a true number 1 receiver for the next handful of years? That is the bigger question overall. If you had to just give up a first-round pick, I think ultimately, and you had him for 4 years with team control, with a lower contract, heck, you do it in a heartbeat. But you don't trade for the guy without the idea in mind that you're going to extend him.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, and I think that that obviously the front office isn't going to call Jordan and Mike and the Steeler Crazy podcast and say, hey, like I'm sure that they know that they want to get someone. I was kind of glad that they passed on Tyler Boyd because I just think that quite frankly he's overrated. I don't think that he's a true number 2. Like I would honestly, I don't want to say this, Jefferson. I just don't think that he's the quality. I feel like the next man up type. I would honestly take Roman Wilson over Tyler Boyd. So I'm glad that he went to Tennessee, right? So
I think the Steelers fans even would agree with you at this point. It's funny because usually we have these Pittsburghers and everybody's like, we want them. But I saw Steelers fans waning on the idea.
I loved him at Pitt. Like that's like the thing, and that's what we do here on the podcast. Like we're unbiased. Like I'm going to tell it how it is. The same reason this is a great segue into the Cam Hayward situation. Like what really I love Cam Hayward. I think we all know that. And the whole thing about it is it's like, bro, at 35 years old, asking for that and wanting to get a Super Bowl before you retire, it's just a head scratcher. And to me, it's like, oh, they're like Cam Hayward still at OTA. He's doing this. He's doing that. Like he should be. I think that Arthur Smith, I think you tweeted that are you sure that he's not from Pittsburgh? Because I swear he is the most Yinzer accent, just his mannerisms, everything. Like I've just been watching like all like the media interviews with him, and I swear like this guy is like. And then I just found out. I know I'm probably late to the party, but that his father is the owner of FedEx.
Oh
is
yeah.
that?
Oh yeah, he's big time money. That guy doesn't need a coach. He could hang out in Aruba for the rest of his life if if he wanted. So, but he seems motivated. If you swap his face with Pittsburgh Dad and just put the words that were coming out of his mouth yesterday, you're going to be shocked at how close that is.
Oh my
Not as much of a
gosh.
Yinzer accent, but
That's great.
but the way he kind of rambled and spoke in circles and threw out one thought to the other
Yeah.
and voice inflection, like raised his voice, lowered it.
And
It was trippy.
Did you see when they asked him like who is the number 2 receiver? And I'm like, did he even answer the question? Like I was
It
like,
was weird. It was funny. It was a funny answer where he said kind of a bunch of nothing.
Yeah, well, hey, we really appreciate
Yeah.
everyone hanging out with us. David Todd, I know he's a busy guy, always great, getting his perspective on everything. And there you go. I'm another guy that's higher on Russ, and, he's another guy that covered the Steelers and just very knowledgeable. So, yeah, there you go. That's 2. Are you on
Yep.
the Russ train? Mr. Unlimited.
I'm on it.
There you
Put
go.
me in the caboose.
There you go. I'm good. I might go buy a Russell Wilson jersey after this.
Wow.
Here we go. Steeler Nation, let's ride. Until next time, make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jay York Football. This is Mic'd Up Sports 1. We'll be back next week with some great guests, and we appreciate David Todd for coming on today. And make sure you subscribe. This is the Sick Podcast, Steeler Crazy. Jimmy,
Let's
take
ride.
it away. Let's ride.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Steelers Crazy on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.